Welcome, everybody. It's episode 31 of the Hyperbolic Time Chamber podcast, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Louie, solo host tonight. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for continuing to listen to this podcast. We've been hiatus for 3 months, guys, and I've been busy with my new job and such like that. I've been wanting to reboot this podcast, so I just wanted to bring out a new episode for you guys because you guys have been so loyal. And for all the new people listening, thank you for listening. We hope you could continue to listen to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber podcast and also subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you may be listening. I appreciate it so much. But without further ado, let's get back to talking about what we love to talk about on this podcast, which comes to be anime, video games, and more. And the biggest topic I just heard coming up right now, if you've been trying to get a graphics card, 3080 Ti leaks, guys. And if you've been having a hard time trying to get a card like myself, then this might be pretty good news because what am I kidding? What am I kidding? It's not like we would be able to buy one anytime soon, right? So if you guys don't know, there's been ever since this lockdown, still continuing now. It's been hard to be a gamer or anything tech because if you try to get a PlayStation 5 right now, it's absolutely ridiculously impossible. Which I've been lucky to get one over the holidays. Got lucky through Best Buy. No, I did not use no bots, okay? Don't at me there. But yeah, it's been just tough getting the new Nvidia cards, AMD CPUs, and a lot of people are struggling trying to get it. So hang in there, guys. Hopefully sometime coming 2021. And this actually might be the last episode of 2020 here. We'll see. But other than that, it is great to be back on the show. But like I said, a leak. 3080 Ti, guys. It should be coming sometime in January or February at the soonest. Look out for that. It may be as high as $1,000 competing with AMD, so it shouldn't go higher than that. It will be equipped with the 20 gigabyte video memory of RAM, guys. And that is something that is absolutely a must. I thought when the 3080 came out with only 10 gigabytes of video memory, it's like, a little too small. A little too small. So I hope for all that trouble of waiting, don't buy from scalpers, by the way, that the 3080 Ti will be worth the wait. Sure. And then, speaking of a fancy graphics card, you guys, what about Cyberpunk? The Cyberpunk Drama, guys. We did talk about Cyberpunk sometime around few months ago when we were hyped up about it, talking to Ron and Vu, my former co-hosts, and they were just so hyped about the game. And I remember even just shouting back, not shouting, but calling out, you know what? I have a feeling that this game, Cyberpunk 2077, is so hyped up that it might flop. And I said something like that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. At these times, you just hate to be right. And I did still buy the game myself, Cyberpunk 2077. I wanted to get a new graphics card with it, 380, but that didn't pan out. So maybe a 3080 Ti when it comes out. But Cyberpunk 2077, I'm running on my PC with 1080, two 1080s and SOI. I run it at 1080p because that game is absolutely demanding, and I'm getting about 60 frames around medium high settings if I'm lucky. So it's been a wild ride on having that trying to run, but it's pretty solid. The game is just absolutely buggy, as you might have heard. You guys got pulled from the PlayStation Store from Sony, and man, they've been CD Projekt Red has been hit with a lot of lawsuits and everything, and but we're looking forward, guys, for an update for Cyberpunk. If you have the game on PlayStation based consoles or Xbox One based consoles, they absolutely run horrible on those. So I feel bad for you guys. Get that refund from CD Projekt Red if you want. But they do plan to fix it with two major patches coming up, one in January and then one major one and also in February. So I've actually held off on the game on myself, Cyberpunk 2077, on my own playthrough. I played about almost a little over 20 hours, about 20 hours of the game. And my first impressions of it is amazing game. The open world is not quite as good, I would say, as like an older game like Grand Theft Auto 5, or even the hacking is not as great as like Watch Dogs, but those were not even really my cup of tea, those two games. But the game itself, with the story, with Keanu Reeves' his character with Johnny, it definitely pulled me in. I wasn't the biggest fan of The Witcher 3, so don't at me at that, but I do like Cyberpunk. I just wish it just wasn't as buggy and it ran much smoother than it does. And it doesn't support SOI. And I have two 1080s, two graphics cards, and it just pains me to see that my second graphics card is being used at 0%. It's so bad on optimization. So CD Projekt Red, please, for the love of humanity, please patch this game. We would really appreciate it. Sincerely, by the Hyperbolic Time Chamber podcast listeners. Man, been a wild ride, 2020. Let's end this episode year off right, guys. But what is a Hyperbolic Time Chamber episode without talking about some anime? And the anime I recommend of the episode of the day is... It's kind of an old anime, to be honest. I mean, it's a year old. Drum roll, please. No drum rolls, whatever. Anyways, The Promised Neverland, my guys. I watched it on the Funimation app. English dub. Don't at me. Okay, I love Japanese subs. Okay, don't at me. Okay, I'm a filthy casual when it comes to watching anime. No, no. But I finally got to watching that anime, The Promised Land, The Promised Neverland, and it's absolutely amazing. If you're into animes like Death Note or Attack on Titan, it gave me vibes of a mix of those two animes right there, and maybe a little bit of the cuteness from The Abyss. But this anime is absolutely crazy. I don't want to. If you haven't seen it, you don't really want to know much going in. The less you know going into the show, like me, like I had no idea what the show really is about. But going into it and just being shocked of how dark and dystopian horror type of anime and how rich the storyline is, and having that battle of the minds type of strategic ways of maneuvering through the world and their problems is so awesome in this anime. And the main characters are like 11 years old, so they're absolutely smart characters. It's clearly a story about the kids at an orphanage where they figure out outside of their orphanage and their small bubble, beyond the walls of their house and the fields that they live in, things are not quite as they seem. But I don't want, you see, it's you can't really describe this anime without actually, let's say, spoiling anything. So that would be my recommendation, the recommendation of a lifetime there. No, I was kidding. But season 2 is coming out. I highly recommend it. I actually binge watched it last night. I probably didn't go to sleep until like 5 in the morning. But absolutely great anime. The animation's great. The acting, even the dub acting, was absolutely amazing, I thought, in my opinion. The main villain being the caretaker, the mom that watches over the orphanage and all the kids that are in the show. She's absolutely like terrifying because you just feel so bad for the kids. They're being, when you figure out what goes on, of what's happening for the kids and what's in store for them, and they don't really have much of a future besides being I'm not going to spoil it, but definitely watch it. Season 2 is actually coming out on January 7th, and it's something to look forward to. amazing to watch. Definitely leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube or listening on here, and just let me know if you love that show as much as me. And I just can't believe I would have slept on that show for so long. It's been a hot minute. Say, been a hot minute. Other than that, games that I'm looking forward to is usually a topic we talk on Hyperbolic Time Chamber. I recently learned that Left 4 Dead 3 is coming out, you guys. But not exactly how you would think. It's not being released by Valve itself. It's actually being released through Total Rock Studios, I believe they're called, and they're calling the game Back 4 Blood. Isn't that a clever name? And if you're a Left 4 Dead fan like me, you're absolutely excited about this. Coming out in the summer of 2021, around June, so hopefully it doesn't get delayed. This COVID business continues. But I'm absolutely excited about that. I wish Valve could actually make a Left 4 Dead 3 and just count to 3 for once. But that is definitely a game I am excited for. And it's going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's going to be definitely probably one of my games of the year of 2021. I'm calling it probably, but definitely something to look out for. And we will talk about it more on the podcast eventually. Other than that, you guys, I hope everyone is doing great, closing out 2020 with a bang. Everyone's staying safe. And then I appreciate everyone who's been listening to the podcast, even though there hasn't been a new episode in over 3 months. Just been very busy with things, but I've been motivated on the activity of the podcast still, even after the 3-month hiatus. And there's been just a lot of people listening, and we're almost reaching over 1,000 listens of people for our span of 31 episodes at this point, which I am mostly probably just going to do a lot of solo talking at this point. I am trying to get some new co-hosts in to get some new guests for every other episode. They're not going to be as, let's say, weekly as we did before, but definitely stay tuned to this podcast. Talk more about anime, video games, maybe even sports if you guys like. You guys know me personally, and you see the Bulls hat on the side of me if you're watching on YouTube. I am a Bulls fan, and I am a Chicago Bulls fan, Chicago Bears fan, Chicago Blackhawks fan, and a Sacramento Kings fan as well, since I'm from here as well. But originally from Chicago, so we could talk about a lot of stuff, guys. It's going to be a bit more free flowing. I do want to bring in more topics that are not just news based like we have been doing with the past co-hosts with Vu and Ron. Hopefully, maybe someday they'll want to come back, do an episode again, a reunion episode at some point. But I do want to make this podcast going forward status update again, closing this episode out in 2020 to make more tips and tricks, life topics, things like that. Just here to chat. And just, this is a great podcast for me just to vent a little bit and just express things I love and gush about things I love. And I appreciate you guys liking to listen if you're at work or if you're on a jog or riding a skateboard, playing basketball, and just, now during this time of isolation, it's always good to have some sort of platform to, bring community in and just talk about things you love to talk about. And yeah, I'll definitely bring some co-hosts hopefully at some point, when most likely not in person because of COVID. Numbers have been crazy. But other than that, it's been awesome seeing the growth of the channel. You guys have been amazing. Don't forget to subscribe to the Hyperbolic Time Chamber podcast and your boy 350Z Time. So if you do want to listen to us again, make sure to subscribe, smash that like button, share the podcast to your friends. Again, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, and I also stream on Twitch as 350Z Time. Play a lot of games recently, such as Demon Souls PS5 with my friend George, We've been kicking butt on that game, and it's been a blast. So if you want to check me out, you'll probably be able to find me on stream, most likely. I'll most likely be playing sometime 8 p.m. Pacific time. Find me on there. Definitely say hi. And if you're from the podcast, let me know. And then even throw some suggestions of what future podcast episodes you would love to hear about too, or like anime reviews or game reviews or impressions. We really appreciate the feedback. Other than that, you guys, I am out. Peace.